welcome. It's Chris from Christopher Hall Training, and welcome to this video, which I'm going to call the Beginner's Guide to Weight Loss or the Beginner's Guide to Fat Loss or something like that. This is a common thing that I'm asked by people face to face and online, and my answer is generally not follow this exercise plan or follow this diet plan. A lot of trainers are out there doing that, but for most people that's an ineffective way of doing it, simply because it doesn't take into account the person that's doing it. And when we come to talking about principles of exercise or fitness or health, yes, there are goals, and yes, there are certain ways of exercising that will achieve those goals. But again, that doesn't take into account the individual that's doing it. Because individuals could be beginners, they could be intermediate, they could be advanced. So that just those three groups alone require a different exercise program. If you put a beginner doing an advanced person's workout, it's not going to work. If you put an advanced person workout doing a beginner's workout, again, it's not going to work that well. So first of all, we've got to establish that. So what we're going to do in this little video is talk a little bit more about that. Talk about how we need to understand how to lose this body fat or lose this weight that we want to lose. So there are three basic elements to this process. And once we've got two of them, it helps us understand the third one. So the first one is knowing where we want to be. So it's knowing what weight that we want to be at, knowing what body fat percentage we want to be at, and knowing how fit we want to be. Knowing what that looks like. So it might be that I want to fit into a certain size piece of clothing. It might be that we want to run at a certain speed. It might be that we want to fit on an old pair of trousers or jeans or something like that. That's where we want to be. The next one is, where are we? So what belt buckle are we at? What size clothes are we at? What body fat percentage are we at? What weight are we at? Once we can understand that, we can start to understand then how we're going to get where we want to get. And this is the bit where most people have the problems, which is how they're going to do it. Because they look for an individual program, they start doing it. It could be too hard, it might not be long enough, it might be too long, it might be too frequently, so it's every single day instead of being every other day, so on and so forth. So what that then tells me is, well, we need to figure that out. Well, how much time can you give to exercise? What exercises are you able to do with the equipment and the facilities and the space that you have available? Sort of, what's your motivation for doing it? Have you tried to do it in the past but stopped? Why did you stop? Was it just because, let's just say, normal life got in the way and there were too many other things to do before you could do your exercise? So you were doing that for a period of weeks, and then normal life started kicking in, and then it was like, oh, I just haven't got time for exercise, so I need to stop doing it. Was it because you weren't interested in it? Well, what lost your interest? Was it because you were doing the same program? So does that mean you need a couple of different programs? So there's all these questions that need to be answered to help us understand where you are. And it's exactly the same with the foods that we're eating. So have you tried to change your diet before? Have you, what foods do you like? What foods do you dislike? Because again, if someone gives you a plan, it's just full of foods that you don't like, then it's not going to work. So we need to find something that works for you. Because once we can do that, the journey to getting where you want to get is a lot easier. So that's sort of, I guess, the 3-step process. Know where you want to be, know where you are, then you can start figuring out how you're going to get there. Now, this is the hard bit, because this is the bit where people will either go all the way and get there, or they'll get halfway, step off, and never go back again, or they'll get quarter of the way there, step off, wait another 3 months, and think, right, I'm going to do this, right, get back on, and think, oh, it's not working, I'm going to stop, right, 3 months later, get back on, so on, and you just keep repeating that cycle and never quite getting where you want to get. So that, in a sense, is the essence of what you need to be doing. What we then need to look at are more specifics, as I've mentioned. What foods are you going to eat? What exercise are you going to do? So on and so forth. If we just go with the general principles of exercise and diet, is we need to move more and we need to eat less. So that makes us need to know what we're eating. Okay, write it down. Then we need to think about, once we've written it down over a period of a week, how can we eat less? Okay, if we can eat less, then we're all good. If we can do it in a way that we can follow for a prolonged period of time, then that's going to be all the better. It's exactly the same with exercise. What exercise are you doing at the moment? If we can then establish that, we can then establish a program. If it's boredom which is the problem, or lack of variety, then you need to be thinking every month, every 2 months, every 3 months. You need to be adding a bit to the program. It doesn't have to be a complete overhaul. It could just be a bit of extra intensity with some more reps, some more sets, some different exercises, doing it more per week. So we got to be thinking about it not as this is what I'm going to do and this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. We've got to be thinking about it because it's going to mold and it's going to change. No exercise program stays the same all the way along. If you look at any athlete, it will come up, it will peak, and then it will drop. It will peak, it will drop, it will peak, it will drop. That's how exercise works. That's how achieving a goal works. We've got to do it in phases. So you might just take a year and just put it in 3 months blocks. Right, this is what I'm going to do from January, February and March. Then when I get to March, I'm going to jig things around a bit and do this from April, May, June. Then I'm going to jig things around a bit, July, August, September, so on and so forth. So we're starting to get away from these rigid plans that don't work as a general rule for most of the population. And we need to get into thinking, right, the general principle is I need to move more and I need to eat less. I'm then going to do for the first 3 months of the year, I'm going to do this, that and the other with regards to what I'm eating. So I'm going to eat less and I'm going to eat these different foods which are a little bit cleaner, a little bit better, a little bit healthier for the body. So I'm going to start doing that for the first 3 months. Then I'm going to change it and start adding this in or adding that in for the next 3 months. So you can start to see how it's going to mold, how it's going to change. One example, had a lady ask me, well, I want to lose weight. And the first thing I asked her, well, have you done it before? She said, yes. Well, how did you do it? Well, I followed this program for 8 weeks and I got to the weight where I wanted to be. Okay, great, we'll do that. It doesn't have to be sort of this miracle formula. If you found something that works, keep continuing doing what works. What you might just have to modify is what you were doing before that, which got you to the weight that you didn't want to be, because then you'll be able to do less of the dieting for the 8 weeks or whatever it might be. But if you want that beach body, then a diet that can help you get there. If you're happy being a little bit heavier for the rest of the year, then that's fine. If you're sort of really unhealthy, then obviously it may not be fine. But if you're not at an unhealthy weight already and you just want to lean down a little bit, then by all means do an 8-week plan. It's only 8 weeks. Go on your holiday with the body that you want, and then when you come back, if you're happy with the weight that you're normally at, then you're all good. So hopefully what you can see from this is there's a lot of variables that can change how this works for each individual. So without understanding and without coaching a person on a regular basis, it's very hard for me to tell you to do this, that or the other, because we have to understand all these different things first to be able to then put a plan in place for you. So it's very much thinking about those types of questions, but start from where do you want to be, where are you now, and then start asking questions. Well, what can I do? What foods can I eat? What diet can I follow? And then start thinking, well, in 3 months, if I've done that, what do I then want to start doing to get myself a little bit closer? And then what do I still want to start doing 3 months later to get myself a little bit closer again? So again, there's no one answer. You've got to figure out, and you've got to self-coach yourself. So you've got to figure out where you are and who you are to be able to get there. So that's kind of my overview or guide to weight loss, to fat loss, to being healthier, to being fitter, to being stronger, whatever it might be, because it's that formula that I use with everyone. Where do you want to be? Where are you now? And then how are we going to get from A to B, but we might have to do it in little chunks to get there. So that's my guide. If it doesn't give you all the answers that you need, hopefully it's giving you some questions to follow, because that's the idea of it. Because those questions lead to answers, which then lead to new questions, which lead to answers, which should then be taking you closer, as long as you're measuring it as you go along. That's another thing, is you need to measure as you go along, is what we're doing working? So what's working and what's not working? So you need to do that, say, every month, or every 2 months, or every 3 months, or something like that. So you know what's working and what's not working. So that's the other part to it. So number 1, know where you want to be. Number 2, know where you are. Number 3, set a plan. Get a month in, 2 months in. Is it working? Is it not working? What do I need to change? Make the changes, go again. A couple of months later, is it working? Is it not working? Make the changes, so on and so forth. So that's my guide. It's not as clear cut, but it takes a bit of work. But if you want to achieve anything in life, it takes a bit of work. So many thanks for watching. My name is Chris from Christopher Hole Training. I'll speak to you in the next video.